The cat guardian is back, the smell of heavy sand and fur trailing behind her feet. She is sitting beside the mistress, touching her hand, whispering something. I can understand things like food and walk. I cannot understand the heavy shove of these words, the wet ocean smell on her skin. We went to the beach once, mistress and the cat guardian. We stood beside the waves and judged the horizon. Mistress threw sticks into the surf, and the cat guardian shied away from my wet paws. Cat guardian has 2 little demons that follow her. When we visit her on long mornings, the cats slink through the rooms and tell me stories. They tell me about the way mice taste, how I am a stunted wolf, how they are tigers still in their tiny souls. But today the demons are not with Cat Guardian. There is only her bag of secrets, a heavy heart and a drawn look. Cat Guardian brings me into the room where I have slept my whole life. There on the white bed, with the flowers and old stuffed animals I cannot chew. There Cat Guardian places me beside Mistress and lets her touch my throat, my nose, my ears. I understand her words, for they are slow and familiar. Be good. Then Cat Guardian is kneeling beside Mistress. She is touching her face, her hands, her hair. She is saying things too quickly for me to understand. She is weeping openly, her hands rattling. Cat Guardian is younger. Within her first cycle of celestial ability, she will live 400 more years. But not Mistress. I know then what Cat Guardian is saying. She is picking up the leash. She is whispering walkies. She is looking away from Mistress. Be good, Blossom, Mistress says. I love you. Then Mistress turns away to look at the windows. I am passed to another being and taken from the white rooms, the wide bed, the wonderful smell of flowers and cheese. I am taken into a car that smells like sand, to a world with demon tigers and no Mistress. I do not see her again until she is stone growing from the ground. It is their way. That was the first of 3 short stories I have for you tonight. 2 more to go. I remember before I met Friend. I don't like to remember, but I can. I remember the dark and cold. I remember Mama wouldn't wake up. It was raining. Big men came and put me in a box, then put that box in a bigger mover box. I remember bumping up and down and the men talking loudly, and the rain hitting the bigger mover box, and loud, angry geese sounds. When the big box opened, they carried me in my little box inside. I was shaking and barking and shrieking and scared. I was scared. They emptied my box into a bigger box and left me there for days. I got food and water, but people poked and pricked at me. I was scared and no one could help, and I was lonely, and I missed Mama, and I didn't think I was going to get out. The other dogs were bigger and louder and barked at me through the box walls. That's when I met Friend. He came in and stopped and looked at me. I didn't want him to grab me like the other men did, but he lifted me gently. It reminded me of Mama. I liked him, and I wanted him to stay. But then he walked away and I barked, and I barked, and I barked, but he didn't hear me. But then he came back. He put me in a big mover box again, but I wasn't in the smaller box, so it wasn't as bad. Then when we got to his inside place, it was the biggest box I had ever seen. I ran all around it, and I was tired by the time I had run around the whole thing. I could jump and run, and Friend was always there to play or sit on or protect. He went away a lot when the sun was out, but he was always home after it went down. Some days he was with me the whole day. I was scared of the outside when he first found me, but he made me love it again. The walks and the toys. Oh, the toys. There were so many toys and bones and treats and belly scratches. He let me run free and was always there to go back to. I remember those days. They were my favorite. He even helped me get over my fear of the big mover boxes. Usually they went to the park. Sometimes they went to the other place. The other place reminded me of where Friend found me. It was all white and the floor went click, click, click under my paws. It had a big lady with glasses and a white coat. She would poke and prod at me, but Friend was always there, so I wasn't that scared. But all of that seems so long ago. My legs are tired now. The outside seems so much bigger than it did. I can only run for so long now, but Friend still brings me. He brings my toys too. They still cheer me up. They don't squeak as much, but I don't mind. The outside is starting to hurt. The cold gets through my fur easier. I feel so sorry to Friend. I know he wishes we could still run and play. I tried to for a time, but I don't think I can keep up with him anymore. I wish I could thank him for everything. For getting me out of that box. He made me the luckiest dog in the whole world. He gave me things I didn't think I would ever have. I never felt so lost when my mama went to sleep. I thought no one would ever make sure I was okay. No one would ever be there to protect me. Then Friend did. I was never able to thank him enough, but I hope he knows. Friend says we're going for a ride soon. He's been taking me to the park more, so that's probably where we're going. I remember once, when I was tiny, we went to the other place and the woman poked me with a needle. It made me sleep for at least 100 years. I feel like that now. Like I could sleep for 100 years. Maybe Friend can bring me back there, so she can give me another poke. I'll be less tired after another 100 years. One more to go. He was a real good guy, through and through. Never met anyone quite like him since. Never really expect I will either. People like Joe don't come around often. Once in a lifetime maybe, if you're lucky. Almost everyone I've ever met had the tiny silvered paper cuts of white lies on their fingers. It's a price of formalities, a camouflage of sorts. As everyone has a few, some deeper cut than others over the years, opened and reopened time after time. And not just that, but the larger cuts, silvery things on forearms and shins, necks or backs. People lie. It's just the way of things. Sometimes the pain is worth the deception. The balancing scale plays out mentally before a person's mouth opens. Joining the force was what I wanted. There was a lie I told myself. A lie I scratched in deep over and over again. I wanted to change. I wanted my parents to be proud. All lies. Tiny scratching lines on my shoulder to create a strange and deceitful pattern that never seemed to heal completely. In truth, I joined the force because I had nothing left. I joined as a last-ditch effort to save myself from rock bottom. Among the elite, surrounded by the brave and the successful, I simply kept my head down. It felt like being a fox stuck among a pack of wolves. Just being there in the first place felt like deception. But then there was Instructor Joe. I had more scars than most, and that earned little trust. But if people were politely cold with me, they were visibly frigid with Joe. See, he didn't have the traditional marks on his hands. He didn't have cuts and nicks along his arms, his face or neck. At a quick glance, you might have thought him the most honest man alive. At first, people did. A man in his fading 30s without scars. That's like a goddamn unicorn. They're more myth and legend than person. Yet there he was, plain as day. Everyone liked Joe that first week. Everyone wanted to be on good terms with him. I mean, who wouldn't? In a world of liars and cheats, proof reminded at every twist and turn of the road, who wouldn't want someone they could trust? Well, that was before he took off his shirt in the locker room, before we all saw the hideous mark that covered half his back. One lie, but the most gruesome thing I've ever seen. From his shoulder blade to his ribs, it looked like a crashing comet of red and silvered white, a tiny portion of it just finally healing, a rough tear now recovered again. It was all the same lie. That's something you can just tell sometimes, just know it. Usually you can tell how many times too, but whatever the number was which he'd said that aloud, I don't know. He rarely spoke to begin with, issuing the orders with a stern smile, instructing as all the rest did. He was positive, encouraging, truthful, but that scar was on everyone's mind. Deep, dark and terrible. Someone who could tell a lie like that. Well, there was someone to watch out for. In the end, though, it was at the range when things went well and truly sour. Live fire runs, we'd done them 1,000 times. But that day I guess someone forgot themselves. Maybe they thought too much on what and how and their brain skipped a beat. Or maybe they were just careless. Regardless of the reason, a shot fired when it shouldn't have. Brass spit fire, air swallowed metal, and lead took its first taste of iron, calcium, iron, and dirt. In that order. We all stopped, eyes wide and watching that kid fall down real slow, first standing, staring with his hand pulling away, not even scared, just shocked. Red, like deep crimson soaking and spreading, he dropped down to his knees. Still, he wasn't even there yet. It hadn't quite processed. That's when Joe caught him, and all the shouting erupted. The pandemonium. The first real training turned to action kicking in. Cries for medic and kid, get the kit, as people ran for the directions they thought mattered. I was close enough to know that wasn't going to make a difference. Center of mass was what we trained for. The reason was straight and forward. Shoot to kill. Eliminate the target and move on. So I sat there, weapon heavy in my hands as I watched Joe hold this kid, blood pouring out into the dirt like a faucet. And I listened to him repeat the words that cut deep, over and over and over again. Hang on, look at me. You're gonna be all right. You're gonna be all right. that is all I have. 3 small, sad, beautiful stories. Good night, until we meet again.